What's the worst thing you can say to somebody in German?
Are you recording? Because I have a fun story for this.
Okay, I'm going to do a very special quote for today's episode. In Munich, they make films about senior citizens. In Berlin, they make films, well, about themselves. In Hamburg, we make films about death, dressed as a clown from outer space, telling the saddest jokes about cosmic dread you've ever heard. I believe that's a quote from our guest today, Lars Henriks from Hamburg, Germany. So welcome to the show, Lars.
Hi, thank you. Glad to be here.
Es freut mich, Sie kennenzulernen.
Oh, that's perfect. Yes, es freut mich auch, Sie kennenzulernen.
Oh,
Very formal, though.
Just for you. I don't know German, but hey, but I guess today I know a little bit.
I mean, for that, that was really, really good.
I'm very excited to have you on the show because even before we decided to do this, I was familiar with your work, Bear Kittens. And since doing more research, you are part of something called the New Hamburg School of Filmmaking. Is this a bigger movement, or is just specifically you as a filmmaker?
No, that's not just me. Would feel wrong to call it big, but we're like, I think, 5 to 7 people in and around Hamburg, in northern Germany, who have been making genre films or genre adjacent films. I think I summed that up pretty well in that in that quote. For the past 7 to 10 years. Yeah, we started organizing as like a group, so we sort of became a tiny little movement here in Hamburg around 2013 when we founded a film festival to show our work, and then we started touring the country and having organizing all kinds of screenings pretty much all the time. So yeah, it's not just me. We're not many, but we're a group.
Well, we're going to talk a lot about that and your vast knowledge of German cinema as well. By the way, I'm drinking too, but as I said on my last podcast, it's not alcohol; it's diet ginger ale. So good.
Yeah, mine is just
drink.
tea.
Excellent. With a shot of what's the big German? I know you have good beer. What's the big German liquor?
Liquor. Oh, that would be corn. I don't know how to translate that. That's like a clear liquor made from wheat. It's truly disgusting, but especially if you grow up in like rural areas, like I did, then you spend your youth drinking copious amounts of it, flavored with sugary fruit tea things that have funny names. It's really disgusting. You should never drink it.
Well, if I ever come to Germany, I have to do it during Oktoberfest. Do you have just an amazing Oktoberfest in Hamburg?
No, we don't, because Oktoberfest that's Bavarian, and up here in northern Germany, we are united in solid hatred of southern Germany, of course. Oktoberfest, we have those in supermarkets, so we can get, I don't know, their cheesy stuff, but I think there probably are venues holding their own Oktoberfest thingies. But if you want to do Oktoberfest, you usually just go to Munich and do it properly.
That's where you do it properly, because you're closer to Denmark, really. And then southern Germany's closer to mainland Europe and Austria,
yes,
Switzerland.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I guess I'll have to visit both someday, but that would be my one bucket list, to go to Oktoberfest in Germany, not only try the great German beer, but those big doughy pretzels. which look enormous. So, but no mustard for me. Okay. Before we get into things, a couple other things I researched about Hamburg. You have some very famous people who came from there in the arts. Brahms, Mendelssohn, two biggies of classical music. Karl Lagerfeld, of fashion fame. Didn't he pass away recently?
Yeah, he did.
He did. And Angela Merkel.
Really? I
That's
did
what,
not know that.
Wikipedia
Is that true? Because she definitely didn't spend much of her life here. She's from East Germany. So that's interesting. I didn't know that. I'm learning.
There is a conspiracy theory that she was the daughter of Hitler. Is that true?
And first, no, and second, that sounds like
It's
the
funny.
weirdest
You look
conspiracy
this
theory
stuff up
ever.
online, you get into this rabbit hole, and there are people who actually think Angela Merkel is the secret daughter of Hitler. But anyways, enough about Angela. This is all about you today. So what I really think is cool about your story is, first of all, you're so young. Probably not quite as young as you look like, because you look so young, but it sounds like you've been making movies for at least 10 years now.
10 years, yeah, almost. Yep. I'm gonna be 30 in a week, by the way. So I'm not really young. I'm very, very old.
Well, let me tell you,
Old
'cause
and
I was
bitter.
kind of like you when I was young. I looked real young, and then by about 30, 40, you just start to rapidly age. It all catches up with you. So
Ah.
enjoy it while you got it, okay? And also, when you're kind of young and innocent looking, you get away with murder. So if you need to like use a location or ask people for help, just go up to them and act like you're still 18 and in school and say, "Oh, please, can we use your factory to film this scene for Bear Kittens too?" But what I also like about your work is it seems like you're really out there to make a body of work, not just to make one movie, wait 5 years to make another one. Do you really feel like you're in this for the long haul and you really want to make a body of work that defines a real specific style of yours?
Yes. The short answer is yes. Yeah. The long answer too. Yeah. I don't know. I started I've wanted to become a filmmaker since I was I don't know, half a year old. That was always my clear goal. Like my parents tell this story of how do I become a filmmaker being my first question ever asked when I started to talk at all. So that was always what I wanted to do. And then I started right after. Like I studied acting because I was told then that I couldn't get into film school to study directing. It was bullshit, but I was told that, and I believed them. And then I studied acting, and right after I was done with that, I started making short films with other acting students and film students immediately. And then productions became bigger. I was I had a leading role in an Australian teen sitcom where I would be like for 2 years. I would be on this huge $1 million set every day, and I would sort of observe observe what they were doing. And I thought I can emulate this process without money. So right after that, in 2013, I started production on my first feature film. And from then on, I've just never stopped and made feature films however we could do it. Yeah. So to this day, that's what I'm doing all the time.
You do wear a lot of hats, like, acting, filmmaker. You're also a podcaster. So I think that's also really interesting that you wear different hats. I think nowadays everyone's a podcaster, so that's a given.
Yeah.
But you are interesting in that you went into filmmaking starting as an actor and seeing it from that point of view. And I think your movies are very character-driven, and it seems like you really concentrate on the actors and their performances.
Yeah, definitely. Not only that, we also like the starting with Bear Kittens, then going to the next one, Perfomaniacs, and the one we've got coming out this year called COVID Metamorphoses, because, You get it because of Ovid metamorphosis, whatever. We built
A
those
a
around
nod
the
to
actors.
classical literature.
Yes.
Lars, I have a very classy listening base, so they will all get the reference.
That's good. Yeah, no, but we've actually started with Bear Kittens to start the whole conception of the movies by having young actors improvise and coming up with the parts they want to play or that are good for them to play. So yeah, those films are definitely always and more built around the actors.
Do you ever have men in your movies? Because so far, just everything I've seen just seems like there's just all women casts.
Well,
Unless it's you surrounded by women.
no. I don't act in my own movies anymore. Like
What's that one I saw? You're in that red lit room on the bed with the woman, then the other woman comes in.
I think you got that wrong.
Was that another
I'm pretty
guy?
sure. What? Which one? Again, describe the scene. I can't remember.
It's kind of black and white, but with a red tint over everything. It's in one room like a bedroom, and there's a mattress on the floor. There's a woman and a guy. Then another woman comes into the room. Maybe it's a short film.
Oh, that is that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was me. Yeah. In lockdown, we made last year when we had our first lockdown. Me and Nissan, who is my girlfriend and also filmmaking partner, like she edits all the movies and is heavily involved in production. We were living in a shared flat with another film student, and the three of us would start. Like there was this weekly competition where you could turn in, like, I think 3-minute short films. They would always give us a topic, and then we would have to make a film for that. And we made 3 of those, and I think what you're describing is one of those. Yes.
Okay. And again, it was very female driven. It seems like you're a male director doing female-driven films. Do you think that's part of your style?
Now that you say it, probably yes. But that's I have to say that's entirely circumstantial. Like when we made Bear Kittens and then also Perfomaniacs, those were made in cooperation with a drama school, and it's just the fact that most drama students are girls or women. So we had these huge casts, almost entirely consisting of young women, and then those shorts.
I mean,
yeah,
knowing they were students, I mean, I thought the cast was good. Well,
my students.
That'll be a good start-off point, because I do want to get into Bear Kittens and other things. Just get people up to speed on your filmography. Like, I know you probably made some shorts first, but what are like the years and the major films, leading up to now?
Okay, so I started making feature films in 2013. My first feature was called Why Hans Wagner Hates the Starry Sky. It's one of 3 no-budget sort of Lovecraft-inspired films I've made. Those are all more or less comedies. They do have other aspects, but I don't know. I find them funny. Yeah, the first one, Hans Wagner. That's sort of the idea was, what if we had a rom-com plot and we had a hero who goes on this hero's journey, and he does everything right from the storyteller's perspective, but then something cosmic happens that he cannot fight, and everything just crumbles. And this cosmic event, of course, would then be the summoning of Lovecraftian gods. We shot that in a children's theater on stages built by children. So I guess by that you can sort of figure out.
Do you use a lot of child labor in
Yes.
Germany?
Yes, we do. We do. That's I don't know. I think that's what Germany is known for great work ethics and stuff like that, and that needs to start very very early. So in kindergarten, we are put to work, and now as a grown up, I can profit from that. So yeah,
So when the children, when the kinder aren't making Nike tennis shoes, you make them build movie sets.
Exactly. Yes. I mean, we took the more useless kids. Like for Nike tennis shoes, you have to be able to really do this intricate craft. And the ones who aren't able to do that, they came and painted our sets. So that's what the movie looks like.
Just to make the holes for the laces, you need workers with very small fingers.
Yes, that's really, really complicated. I remember that from my time in kindergarten. I also sucked at it. That's why I pursued the arts. Otherwise, I would probably be a lot richer right now. But if you fail as a child in Germany, then that's it.
See, I think we just came up with the premise for your next film.
You froze. You just froze. What is happening? Now you unfroze.
Yeah,
hello.
You froze for a minute too.
Yeah. Okay. So we both froze.
I think Merkel's people are listening in on us.
Interfering because you outed her. They don't want people to know that Hitler is her dad. So now they are trying to.
30 years ago, when the Berlin Wall came down, it was a ruse. It was symbolic, but there's really like a wall around us.
Yes. They are still controlling the internet as they were doing in the GDR.
So you made your early films. When did you do Bear Kittens and then jump to the features?
No. Hans Wagner was a feature already, and that got like there is a German indie distributor at the time called Dropout Cinema, and they would book it into theaters. Then I made a second one called Cordelia's Children. Oh, good, we were talking about children right there, which is also Lovecraft inspired. And then I made Second Commando versus Cthulhu.
Cordelia's Kinder.
Yes,
I saw the title, and in some printing you have an apostrophe after the S of Cordelia's, and then others not, which can change the meaning. Did you intend to have the apostrophe?
Well, Cordelia's Kinder is a German title, and we don't have the apostrophe if we want to indicate possession, I guess. So whenever
it's a child that Cordelia owns.
It's her child, you'd say. Does she own it by giving birth to it?
A birth child, or one she just bought to do labor.
No, she birthed it, but two children. She birthed 2 children, but they are actually doing labor for her. She's head to a crime syndicate. She has just murdered her husband to seize control of the syndicate, and her daughter is a contract killer, and her son isn't no, he's not useful. He just found a door to a nightmarish dimension in the basement, of course, as you do. And also he started a romance with one of the what's the English word? Stricher, it is in German. With one of the guys prostituting themselves for his mother. So yeah, that's a fun little film.
Okay. A callboy.
Yeah, callboy. That's the word. See, it's a second language.
So did you play the callboy?
No, I do not act in that movie. A bandmate of mine actually played the callboy.
See, that'd be a fun part, because everyone wants to play the outrageous parts in movies, or the noticeable parts.
It's not. The part isn't that outrageous. He mostly just. There's one scene in which Cordelia, he has to sort of do a casting where Cordelia decides if he can work for her or not. So she makes him strip and turn around and looks at him and sort of goes, yeah, okay. So for that for that scene we wanted to have someone who was ripped. And a bandmate of mine had just like half a year before that started to hit the gym a lot, and he was always showing people pictures of his ripped body on his phone. And then I went at some point, yeah, if you like to show off, I've written the script, and there's this scene.
Now, did your mother see this movie?
Yes, absolutely. We actually shot that in my parents' house. They moved houses, so for a time their house would be empty. And then we shot it in the empty house, like in the 2 weeks we had.
And her reaction, did she think that the character of the mother was based on her?
If she thought so, she didn't say. I actually, no, my parents don't comment on my movies anymore. So,
do they like your movies? Do they just kind of ignore them, or?
They more or less accept them. It's a lot of movies too, so they're only human.
Right, they have busy schedules. Well,
Yeah,
do you have
yeah.
brothers and sisters?
I do. I have a little brother and an older sister.
Do they all have good jobs and do regular things?
No.
But you're not the only artistic person in the family.
Oh yes, I am. But my sister lives on a sort of like a farm, far in the outback of East Germany, and does a combination of social work and farm work and thousands of things that I don't understand up there. And my
Makes
brother,
her own yarn?
huh?
Does she make her own yarn from sheep's wool?
Yeah, no. No, I think they make something apple juice. See, I don't know. I just visited her once there. The farm thing is new. She does new things every day, every year. And my brother starts new courses in college every year. So.
Good. Well, do you ever use your siblings in your movies?
My sister once ran through the frame in Hans Wagner. In the beginning,
Okay.
She played a jogger.
And your brother's now too old to play a child factory worker.
Absolutely, he's way too old for that. He missed that chance.
Would your parents consider having another child, knowing that you could use that child in your movies?
I will ask them. I will tell them you asked, and I will get back to you with their reply.
Because in America, a lot of women are having women or children later in life. With all the new drug therapies, you can probably
Sure,
soon,
yeah.
a woman can have children into her 60s. Who knows?
So
Who
yeah,
knows?
I will.
Anyway. Well, so I saw some of your films online. You have some on YouTube, which is great. So I encourage people to go to YouTube to start. But then Amazon has some of your films. So let's talk about Bear Kittens,
Yeah.
which I liked. I was impressed, the one where you use the women from the acting school. By the way, in Germany, in acting school, do all the women have to go to a separate acting school and all the men go to a different one, or how did that work?
That I don't know. There's just very rarely any men in those acting schools. Is that so different in the U.S.? Isn't there like
No, because a man in the US, if he goes to acting school, will immediately get cast in Hollywood movies and start making a lot of money, like
yeah, sure.
immediately after he graduates.
Yeah.
So it's like instant.
Yeah, cool.
You're
No, that doesn't happen here.
guaranteed in America, if a man goes to acting school, he's guaranteed a job immediately and starts, on a six-figure income immediately.
I actually know many German actors who went to American acting schools for like half a year to put that on their resume, because there's those impressive names like Strasberg. So didn't work for them.
No. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm kidding. Acting is tough everywhere. That's just the few who, make the big bucks. But, I think America probably still known for the method acting. Seems like Germany kind of a little more naturalistic on one end, or very highly stylized, which hopefully
Yeah.
we'll talk about. I know you like the sort of, what do you call those early German silent filmmakers?
Uh, uh,
Expressionistic,
yeah, right. The expressionistic silent
very
films, those were big.
stylized.
Yeah.
Yeah. But here's what struck me about Bear Kittens. Before, it's about this woman who's like a counselor to the juvenile delinquent women who have to go and, I guess, pick up trash in the forest or something. They're almost like a mini little jail detail. Kind of like a very light women in prison film, except in the woods. But the main woman, kind of this timid woman who has to lead them, who's got this boss. And what I really liked about the movie was the boss that you see at the beginning. It's like this woman wakes up, she's late to work, she's got to deal with all these wayward young women, but her boss does not like the fact that she's late. And so she brings her into her office and has this very nice scene that indirectly talks about the ripple effect for her being late and just not being cut out for this job. And I thought it was very well written. And I had to read the subtitles, but this actress that you got to play the boss was excellent. So where did
Yeah.
you find the actress that played the boss?
Well, she also was a student of that acting school. Like in case of Bear Kittens, I worked as a teacher at like Hamburg's oldest drama school, and the class of Bear Kittens, it was their last year. And I was supposed to teach them what they call camera acting in German drama schools. And because I got kind of bored teaching and doing like nonsensical exercises, I said to all my classes, actually, let's make short films. And you guys come up with characters, and we will improvise stuff, and then I will go and write a script based on that. And in case of Bear Kittens, we sort of realized, all right, this is not going to be a short, this is going to be a feature. And the monologue you're talking about, I wrote for one of the students who never showed up to class. Like she was there twice, and so I sort of wrote her a part that would only have to be on set for one day. But I thought she should have, if she's only there for one day, she should have this monologue so she can
So you wrote
use that
the
in her demo reel.
monologue for the class, and then you afterwards took that same monologue and kind of inserted it into the Bear Kittens movie?
No, Bear Kittens grew out of that class. Like I wrote the screenplay for that class, and then we went the girls and us, and we shot the movie, sort of like the project of the year that they did. And
so at what point did you kind of slip in the fact that you weren't just teaching them, but that suddenly they were going to act for you in a film? Because at the beginning did they know right off the bat when class started they were going to be in your movie, or did that just sort of evolve midway into teaching the class?
Yeah, I think that evolved like no, actually not. No, I said that first day. I said we're gonna make a short film. I mean that was mostly about we are gonna figure out what you guys need to show in your show reel, and then we will come up with scenes, and we will sort of connect those scenes. So we don't just shoot show reel scenes, but an actual short that will then hopefully go into festivals and stuff like that. And then it being a feature came later. But yeah, they were all excited. And
as
delighted.
It should have been, because it was a fun script. By the way, I'm going to digress. We'll get back to you. This is all about you, Lars. But it reminded me, I think this is like 30 years ago. It was like 1989, maybe 1990. I taught a theater class. It was through the YMCA. Do they have those in Germany?
Nope. But I know what that is.
It's like a community organization. It's actually the Young Men's Christian Association, but it's more of like a community thing where they've got classes and you can hang out. Anyways, I taught a theater class. I was very underqualified. I don't know how I got the gig. We like met once a week, and I think midway through I realized, oh my goodness, I can write a play and just make my students act in it. Because I'm the
See,
teacher, and
yeah,
hey, why not? And we actually, for the end of the class, for like our final project, we performed the play. It's pretty cool.
yeah,
And
that's
and I
really
wrote
cool.
it, but I want to know if you did this when you teach actors, you get to know their strengths.
Hmm.
So did you use that, like after getting to know them and work with them? Then did you write the script after having getting to know what they were like as actors?
Yes, absolutely. So the process would be like first we had this exercise that was supposed to help them see what their for what type of role they would be cast, right?
Hmm.
So because most actors when starting out don't know that. Like every male actor thinks he's gonna play the romantic lead, but most of us are just gonna play the nerd or the doofus. But when we start out, we don't know that. So we did a couple of exercises to work out for every single one of them to see what do you need in your show reel. What will you be what kind of part will you be getting? And then after that, I would let them come up with their characters. We had a couple of exercises for that too. And then I would start, I don't know, telling them situations like your character and your character go on a date and it goes horribly wrong. Go and improvise that. And we had like half a year of that, of just playing around with that. And then sort of we came up in class with an idea of where could all these people meet. So we figured out, all right, every single one of you is playing someone sort of antisocial. So you would probably be in some kind of juvenile delinquency program. And then we would pair them up in like according to comedic preferences, and then after playing around like that for half a year, I would go and write the script very much based on what they had done in improv
Well, it seemed like they had
exercises.
fun because most of them got to play kind of tough and trashy characters.
Yeah, I,
And I think for a lot of times in real life, you wouldn't act like that. But in acting, when you get permission, I think
yeah,
it's a really fun thing for an actor is just to kind of be, their dark side,
yeah,
their kind of mean-spirited side.
yeah. I think they took that opportunity and ran with it
But is
in
that part of
improv, and
you as
then
the writer? Because
sure.
you seem kind of nice in real life, but
Mm.
do you use your writing to express the things you wouldn't dare say in real life?
Nah, I don't. I don't think so. I say pretty horrible stuff in real life all the time. Listen to my
No.
podcast. It's called Mysterium Pictorum.
But you can get away with it with that face. Because of your face, you can get away with murder.
Sure, I did plenty of times. Yeah, no. Do I use my writing? I don't think I do. Um, I mostly I want to tell stories. I want to tell certain stories, and I just write them down, and it comes out as it comes out. But I don't think I have to. I need sort of like a stage to act out any urges.
Mhm. Well, you pick, I think, something challenging because we can talk a little bit about genre. Everyone
Hmm.
wants to peg you in a genre. You put your movie on Amazon and they make you pick a genre. And yours defies it in a way. And you like have, some projects, I think, what was it, Leon Must Die, that maybe
Hmm.
had a little bit of a sci-fi element.
Yeah.
But you're not a sci-fi filmmaker, but you can include genre elements. But it
Yeah.
seems like at your core, there's a lot of subversive humor and
Yeah.
maybe kind of some commentary on humanity, and that's I think a tougher genre to do. Maybe kind of like a Woody Allen movie, just kind of a slice of life of people in these situations and just kind of commenting on the absurdity of people. Do you think that's a little bit closer to what you do?
Definitely it is. When we were first starting to think of us indie filmmakers in Hamburg as sort of like a group or a movement, that was one of the things that we realized we had in common. We all would play around with genre elements, but never really commit to a genre. And there would also always be a kind of ironic humor undercutting the genre elements, which has a lot to do with us not being able to pull off a proper genre without budgets. So we sort of accept defeat and make fun of ourselves while doing it. But also, I think for me, it has a lot to do with I am interested mainly in character and less so in plot. And I think genre is very plot driven. And as soon as I at least start to let the characters decide the way the story is gonna go, I always end up like when we shot Performaniacs, which is a horror comedy. I fully intended to make it scary, but then I found myself on set at some point arranging the actors so it would be funnier, and I thought, what am I doing? This is not gonna be scary. This is gonna be really funny. So yeah, that's the thing that sort of happens to me, but I like it.
Well, it's hard to fake that too. If you have the talent for comedy, it's hard to suppress that and just make a straightforward genre film. Because it seems like you want to challenge yourself with your dialogue and, the absurdity of situations, It seems like you wouldn't be happy making like a straightforward slasher horror movie.
I'm not sure. I mean, if that would mean that, I don't think that a straightforward slasher movie cannot exist with interesting dialogue or with characters that I would root for. There's tons of slasher stuff that I personally love. I absolutely love genre films. That's why genre elements are in all of my movies. But
one thing
it doesn't
about
really happen to me.
Making a genre film is you have to curb your little pathways. Like once you're like say in a slasher film, the plot is everything. And the mood you create. And it's really hard to go off on a tangent and have an existential dialogue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it seems like there'd be that tug for you because you do write such bright dialogue. And just you have a lot of scenes that don't necessarily further the plot. It's more just about people learning about each other. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I mean, I think my favorite slasher genre because of that, as a consumer, would be Nightmare on Elm Street, because in that there is plenty of room for weirdness all the time. But
do you feel the pull? Like if you made a more straightforward genre film, followed those rules, your movies would be more commercial and make more money. So I know a lot of indie filmmakers feel that pull. Oh, I want to do my art, but I want to make a quick buck. So, okay, I'll put this on hold for a while, and I'll make a quick slasher movie and make a ton of money. Do you ever feel that war there?
No, because in Germany, you do not make a ton of money making movies. Especially not indie pictures. Our movies are on Amazon Prime. We have an American distributor, but those are German language movies with subtitles. So whatever the plot structure would be, there wouldn't be many hits on them. So we would not make money from overseas. So the main money we would have to make would come from Germany. And in Germany, you cannot make money with indie pictures because we have like a very centralized way of producing movies. We have a federal funding board. And so the federal you can only finance a movie with the help of the federal funding board. Other ways of financing a movie are either outlawed or just plain impossible because the federal funding board exists. So you have to get approval by that board for your films, and they, for example, do not approve of genre films at all.
But that's also looking at traditional theatrical distribution. The micro-budget filmmakers with their own equipment, streaming internationally. I mean, don't you look towards that? Because you have your movies on Amazon. People are watching them in the U.S. I mean, don't you think, hey, with my camera here and just with my own resources, I can make a cool horror movie with my friends, get it up on Amazon, and make $50,000? Do you ever feel that way? Like, at least you can make something?
I mean, every time we make a movie, we think this is gonna be the thing that people will be watching. We don't need a lot of money to make a film, but we need some money to pay our rent. So in case of Bear Kittens and Perfomaniacs and the next one coming up, we had to do that for acting schools, for acting students. So we have to do what they like too. And as I said, genre films are not regarded well at all in Germany. People will call them trash, whatever they are, just for being genre. They can be like the most high-end genre pictures. In Germany, those are all trash. So acting students, for example, would never want to be in a straight horror film. You couldn't get them to do that because that's just distasteful. That's
what kind of films do German audiences like?
German audiences watch exclusively American films, but dubbed. That's what German audiences like. American blockbusters. German
action films, superhero.
Yeah. That's what German audiences watch, and sitcoms, all dubbed in German. Like everyone sounds like a cartoon character, but yeah, that's because everyone is very used to everything being dubbed. Most people don't like the sound of original sound, because you have the clean soundscape of a studio in the movies as you usually know them in Germany. So yeah. German films are not regarded well at all in Germany by audiences. They couldn't support themselves without the federal funding board. So they're sort of made by and for a bubble. They're not really made for an audience.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't want to, this to be a stereotype, but this is what someone told me. They said, and they actually went to Berlin for a film festival, and they were saying that the German audiences they saw, I mean, they were polite, they listened to the film, but they weren't really demonstrative. And they said it was very rare that the audiences laughed.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find that true?
Yeah.
It's really hard to get a German audience to laugh at a funny part in a movie.
Yes, it is. And okay, I do not want to sound bitter. I don't know. I am honestly not sure. I think it has something to do with authority.
You seem funny. You seem like you would laugh in a movie theater. If it was funny, you would have fun with it.
I do a lot. We've made Leon Must Die. That was the first thing that we actually were able to go overseas with and show on film festivals internationally. In Germany, it was not really our best regarded picture because Leon Must Die is a sci-fi comedy, and it makes a lot of fun of itself being a sci-fi movie, but made without any money. So like the costumes are cheesy, and the laser guns are clearly water pistols. And that is the joke. That is very obviously the joke. It's not just that they are water pistols. It's that in the dialogue, one of the protagonists asks the other one, "Is that a water pistol?" So it's very clear that that's the joke. But the main criticism we get from German audiences in commentaries and stuff is that's really that's kind of cheap. The laser guns look like water pistols. Like, I cannot take this seriously. And I always think, like, you're not supposed to take it seriously. It's a joke. And I don't know, British and American audiences do not seem to have such trouble grasping that concept of a joke being a joke. But it's, I don't know, it's harder in Germany. Film isn't a German medium, I'd say.
Wow. It's funny you said also England. Makes me think of Monty Python, the absurdism and they kind of well, gosh, how old is Monty Python now? 50, almost 60 years ago, late 60s.
Very, very old.
But even now you think of the modern equivalents of that, of just absurdism. We've got a lot of humor, but even as cutting edge as people think they are, it takes a lot of skill to do absurdist comedy. But if you don't have an audience to appreciate it, are you just doing it for each other, you and your cast? So I think, part of what filmmakers have to do is realize, who is my audience? And not go to please everyone. I mean, do you know who your audience is when you're writing and making your films? Do you know who you're creating this for?
Yeah. I mean, by now we are really lucky to be like we have international partners like our distributors. We have been to several American and British festivals a number of times. So we do have our audience there, mostly, less so in Germany, but here too. It's very clear who the people are who watch our movies and come back again and again. So
who are they? Who are the kinds of people? Are they in their 20s? Men, women? I mean, who likes your stuff?
Surprisingly, in Germany, it's mostly men from I don't know, men in their 30s and 40s who are generally interested in art house film, and then it's mostly young women. Also for the podcast projects we do, I like when I check our statistics, it's almost 90% female, the audience. So I guess what you said with the movies being kind of female centered, that really does have an effect there. But also there's like this sort of pre-established art house genre crowd in Germany, and those are mostly men from 30 to, I guess, 50, who are very interested in that and show up a lot. And then internationally, I must say I have less clear of a picture because I'm there less often. But from what I gather from who talks to me, those are mostly men, also not young men, also like 30 to 50. I don't know. I always think our films are kind of youthful and young, but we do not pull those kids.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to talk about German filmmaking in general. And I know we had kind of, when we messaged each other, we were talking about like the tradition of German filmmaking, and like you were saying, it's pretty much all indie filmmaking by its nature. And I was saying, all I can remember it was from late 70s, early 80s, like Fassbinder, which was such a breakout, not just German filmmaking, but just independent filmmaking in general. And when I think the American filmmaking scene was getting so influenced by obviously the French films in the 60s, and then different pockets of filmmaking. And then I think Germany did have this influence, I think, in the American indie scene in the late 70s and early 80s, and especially Fassbinder, and then a couple of breakouts like who made Das Boot?
That was Wolfgang Petersen.
Right.
Wolfgang Petersen.
Of course. And then, of course, and who made Fitzcarraldo?
That was Werner Herzog.
Of course. So those were the things that would play the art house cinemas, especially in Seattle where I lived. And just, that awareness of that. But it seems like there's been big gaps in time, since, 40 years later. But that was such a golden era that I look back on, especially Fassbinder, who made such personal films and were really acclaimed. Did he win Academy Award for Best Foreign Film for at least one of his films?
I'm not sure.
At least he was nominated. But that was kind of in the air. Since then, well, first of all, were you influenced by Fassbinder? And since then, has there anyone who's really filled that role in Germany?
First of all, when we talk about indie cinema, I think it's a thing that we have to define. Like in the US, it clearly means anything independent from the big studios. And we don't have big studios. I think all over Europe we don't. But what we do have is federal funding boards, like in every country, and in Germany especially. So how independent is a film production? That depends on the state financing it. I'm not sure. But we just have that and nothing but that. And you cannot raise a professional budget without the federal funding board. That was different back when Fassbinder started. There wasn't that much federal funding. There was too, but those guys around Fassbinder, not Fassbinder himself, who opposed that, and rightly so, but those guys around him, mostly I think Wim Wenders, they started making these artistic movies. They started to get international recognition, and they pushed for there being more federal funding. They pushed for new laws of the state supporting the arts, and that sort of led to the death of cinema in Germany, because things became really stale when the Suits took over. Like everything everything that gets produced has to be produced in accordance with state TV stations. Like if they are not in, everything that gets produced for the cinema is ultimately headed to TV, to those state TV stations. So if you want to make something that they could not air, for example, a horror film, you cannot make that. It's impossible.
So the ones that can't get funded by the state are really indie. Those are the true indies.
Yes, and that's us. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Since Fassbinder, there has been one. I mean, right now there are a couple of interesting things being made, like every 10 years, even inside this rigid system. So there are wonderful things being produced that don't really interest me that much. I think Fassbinder is absolutely fascinating. Like the stories surrounding his movies as well as his movies. I think it's all a big work of art, his life and his body of work. And then there was Christoph Schlingensief, who was sort of like an avant-garde director in the 80s until early to mid-90s. Then he went and did theater instead, and he was really hated. He was a provocateur, an enfant terrible, until he then kind of publicly died. He had lung cancer, and he made he documented his suffering in a really touching way, and now he's really beloved in Germany. But we don't like to watch his movies. His movies are awesome. Christoph Schlingensief, definite recommendation. But that was in the mid-90s and ended there. So that was, I think, the last filmmaker who really pushed boundaries.
So I remember from the 90s, Percy Adlon, who made Zucker Baby and then Baghdad Cafe. And Baghdad Cafe did really well in the US. That was a real breakout indie film here, and it actually got turned into a TV series in Hollywood. Can you believe that?
See, and until you told me about Zucker Baby, I had not heard of him or his films at all, ever. So
You said
those
you were gonna
weren't breakout
watch
hits
it.
in Germany.
Did you
Huh?
watch it?
No,
You
I
said you
couldn't
were
track
gonna
them down. Yeah, I wanted to, but where?
It's probably not streaming online then. Who knows? Maybe you
No,
have to get an old VHS copy.
at least not here. Yeah, maybe.
Oh. Well, I recommend it for the lighting and the acting, but it's almost a silent film. I love it because there's very little dialogue. It's
Hmm.
very visual. It's almost like the whole story is told visually. So, I don't know. To me at the time, it was like, you know, when you're just young and you're thirsting for indie films and just you want to see every cool film out there. I guess in America, you know, for me, that was to see all the foreign films that came here. And that was
Hmm.
back before you could see them on home video. It's experiencing them all in the theater. I feel we're lucky that I got to see a lot of these in the theater. You know, even seeing like a little, even though they were a few years old, you know, to see Fassbinder on the big screen at some, you know, repertory movie house. And it
Yeah.
just seems like your generation, have you been able to see a lot of these classic films on a big screen in a real movie theater?
Um, a lot? No. No.
With an
I have a
audience,
home
you know,
theater.
with other people
Yeah.
that you could not laugh with.
Yeah. No. 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 Like we're lucky when we get like the big American new releases in original language.
But
So
even now, they're all streaming. I mean, isn't the new Justice League movie debuting online?
yeah, I've seen that. Everybody's talking about that. I'm not really interested, but yeah,
I know, me
everything
neither. By the way,
is streaming. Like,
excuse the noise. So this is proof I'm not having whiskey. Do they have ginger ale in Germany?
yeah, of course we do.
It's kind of like German beer, except it's fizzy and it's non-alcoholic and tastes nothing like beer.
No, yeah, right.
Otherwise, it's just like German beer.
I mean, beer is sort of, I don't know, fizzy. Ideally, like shouldn't be completely stale.
Here's what's weird about German beer is in America, there's some like American beer companies that create names that sound kind of German. Then you find out the beer's not from Germany. Or maybe it was originally a German beer, but they just like license the formula so they make it here and sell it, so it's really not like real German beer. But like, is Lowenbrau, is that a real German beer? Or did some American company just make that up?
Löwenbräu. I cannot. I don't know. I don't know.
Or there was,
I
or when I was growing up, there was a really cheap one called Schlitz.
That's definitely not German.
What's the worst thing you can say to somebody in German?
Are you recording? Because I have a fun story for this.
I am recording.
Perfect. The worst profanity in German is Hurensohn, which means son of a bitch, or more literally, son of a whore. Hurensohn. I did not know how bad it was until somebody went to the police because I called him a Hurensohn, and I actually had to appear in court. And I learned that it was very, very illegal to call someone that. And I think it's like you can get up to 2 years or a high fee. It's terrible.
Really?
Yes.
That's pretty serious. I mean, just swearing at someone, you can go to jail?
Yeah. Like, I don't think that actually happens. I don't know why the law says that and how exactly that happened. I guess somebody called a policeman that. If you do that, you probably go to jail. But
So the
yeah.
guy that turned you in, like, so what's the German word for snitch?
No. He's just a Hurensohn. And now I said that on record again.
I don't even know him, and I don't like this guy.
No, nobody does. Nobody does. He was a guy. Whatever. He was living in my shared flat, and we had to kick him out because we were too many people for the flat anyway, and he had his girlfriend move in to his room with him, and we said, well, that just doesn't work. Please, may she not live here? She has an apartment just down the road. Why is that not okay? And why is she always eating the food we buy? And he said, if we're not okay with it, then we could move out. So we had to we had to kick him out, and things got heated, and I called him a Hurensohn, because he was. And then he went and proved, and then he went and proved that further. Yeah.
Well, that's good. When we're done, I'm gonna Google it so I can see how you spell that. Oh my God. Could you name your movie that phrase, or would that be illegal?
No. There is a movie called that. I think there is a movie called that. Probably one by Oskar Röhler. Interesting filmmaker who did work with Christoph Schlingensief. I'm Googling that right now because, there's a movie called Hurensohn. It's from 2004. It's not by Oskar Röhler. I was wrong. Michael Sturmiger. Never heard that. But yeah,
it's
Hurensohn.
Good light. When you Google, you get a lot of good light on your face.
Ah.
You should keep that on the whole time. There you go. See?
Will do.
That's much better lighting on you. You actually now look like you're 12.
Great. That's always the goal.
So, we don't have to talk about this too much more, but who are your favorite German filmmakers? Have any of them inspired your work?
Yes, absolutely. I really like the whole expressionist gang. So that would be the obligatory Fritz Lang. Then there's Murnau, who made the Nosferatu movie. Then Robert Wiene, all these guys. I really like,
what do you like
those.
About?
I mean, the expressionist movement sort of laid the foundations for our modern understanding of horror, like visually and also thematically. And not only horror, like Fritz Lang pretty much invented every film genre during the 20s. He made Metropolis, and if you watch it, you can see echoes of Metropolis in everything to this day. Like Blade Runner.
Madonna videos.
Yeah, that too.
Madonna videos.
That too, but also Star Wars wouldn't exist without Metropolis, which actually does really have a kind of similar approach to storytelling, like having this sci-fi story, but also taking mythological elements. Then I don't know, Blade Runner, the whole cyberpunk stuff. Like Metropolis, you cannot overestimate the influence of Metropolis on blockbuster genre cinema to this day. Nosferatu, I think, also pretty much holds up. I don't know if it was intended to be quite as funny as it is, but it is really entertaining and funny. The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari is actually one that I personally don't love that much. I like the look, but I don't like the story and the story twist in the end. Then Murnau, the director of Nosferatu, he made several other interesting films. For example, Faust. I don't know. These movies they have this striking look, like this expressionist silent era look, that the way they play with light and shadow. You can see echoes of that in film noir, and then genre films like Nightmare on Elm Street wouldn't exist without Nosferatu. And all of these films have like a very dense atmosphere. And if you just give yourself over to them, like, I think you have to watch these on a big screen. Like, those are not laptop films, even though they're all on YouTube. Don't do that. Preferably even with live music. I've watched Nosferatu on a big screen in a church with live organ music in Derby, UK, when we were there for a film festival. And that's just perfect. And in this way, these movies really work, and they really suck you in, and they are these dense works of art presenting you with these fascinating worlds. And I think it's impressive that these movies are 100 years old by now, and in most ways they still hold up. If you watch a decent copy and on a big screen. And with good music.
Wasn't it like in the late 70s or early 80s? There was a remake of Nosferatu with Klaus Kinski.
Yes, there was. I haven't watched it.
Who directed that?
That was Werner Herzog. Werner Herzog, the guy who plays in The Mandalorian now.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because I remember when that came out, and they made him look so much like, what was so neat about the original Nosferatu, that iconic makeup, which is so different than the regular vampire makeup after, the Universal version. But we don't need to talk about Klaus Kinski too much, but for a prominent German actor who became, international. I read his autobiography, years ago, and it's just fascinating, first of all, because he worked with so many different people. He was in Dr. Zhivago, but really talking about early on in post-war Germany. But that book, I mean, my jaw was just dropped the whole time I was reading. I just could not believe this life this man led. And it sounds like he did some pretty twisted things, that have come out about him. But what really got me was years after this book came out, there was suddenly this uncut new version of the autobiography that supposedly had even more stuff.
Yeah.
And I thought, how could there be more of the original?
Yeah.
I was just so shocked reading it.
Yeah.
I mean, how is Klaus Kinski perceived in Germany now?
I mean, people sort of love him. Like I personally, I have read these significant excerpts from his uncensored autobiography, which detail his adventures in child molestation. So I actually don't like to look at the guy.
Right.
But that does not dominate the image of Klaus Kinski. There is a famous comedian whose main shtick is imitating Klaus Kinski, and imitating Klaus Kinski is like I guess he's one of the two most imitated people in Germany. Like the first one would be Hitler, and the second one would be Klaus Kinski. So he's sort of an ironic joke.
To read, the details, the molestation and all that.
Yeah, it's awful.
But before that, I remember, a couple key documentaries that both showed how difficult he was to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't one of those made by Herzog?
Yeah. My best fiend, I think. Mein bester Feind. Yeah.
It's just so weird, and especially we're in a day and age where people do much lesser things and get canceled. There's cancel culture.
Although, and he wrote about this stuff himself. Now. Yeah.
Right. And so he can't really be canceled. He's already dead. But, we look at people's careers differently. But at the same time, he never had this squeaky clean image. It was always this very tortured soul. And he was...
Right.
Shared also the gritty details of his life. So I don't think he tried to gloss it over.
Yeah,
he just is this big presence in German cinema, or as this actor that we'll probably never see again. I mean, he was just this iconic person who was definitely not all good, had a lot of bad, but at the same time is just a fascinating figure.
Yeah, I think he was. I'm not sure about this, but I think he played in more international productions than German ones, actually.
Right, because once he hit big, he was, especially after Dr. Zhivago, and was he in Lawrence of Arabia?
I don't think so, no.
Something like that, because the more you get to know him, you just see he shows up in all these big productions.
Yeah.
Maybe not always the main character.
But I mean, in general, in all these productions, like he didn't seem to discriminate in that sense. Like he shows up in these big mainstream movies and also these respected art house movies, and then he's in those all those spaghetti westerns.
Right. And then later in his career, when he became especially jaded and maybe not as easy to cast, especially, when Herzog probably said, this man's a handful, he started showing up in all these low-budget horror films.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's such an interesting career arc when you see someone who was, pretty up-and-coming and held in this big esteem. And later in life, when they became these jaded, bitter people, and just to pay their rent, they're acting in these just weird, low-budget movies.
I mean,
So
he
I think
shares
that's
that
what
fate
makes-
with. He shares that fate with like Orson Welles
Yes.
or Marlon Brando,
Yes.
even.
Yeah. But don't you think now in this day and age of making films, there's this pressure to be perfect in both your life and in your subject matter? And we're at the point where if you're deviating at all, you talk about the guy that, called the police because you called him a bad name.
Yeah.
But now in filmmaking, if you don't have this pristine representation of all your characters or the right themes and everything, and now suddenly, even the low budget indie people, there's this microscope now of, boy, you better not cross a line.
Obviously everybody thinks about that a lot. I actually sometimes I think there are so many people who do not seem to be affected by stuff like Me Too. For example, like everyone who we knew their darkest secrets about that earlier, like Mel Gibson isn't precisely cancelled, not more than he was before. Charlie Sheen. People like those, I don't think they lost a lot of their esteem. So I think it's a lot of it is also about a huge pressure to be very, very honest. I think that's why mostly like the more I don't know, liberal, the more leftist you are, the easier I think it is to struggle and fall. I feel like nobody gets torn down on Twitter more than feminists.
Well, we're at a point where someone might say, how dare a man direct bear kittens? What would a man know about the lives of these women?
Yeah, that could happen, but and I don't know what I would answer to that. I write characters. But
that's the absurd length some of this is coming to. Because you making bear kittens doesn't prevent a woman director from making her own bear kittens.
True.
You know
I
what I
mean, in my case, like for example, Bear Kittens. It has like a film by, and then there's me and Nissan, who edited it, produced it, made the costumes. So we pretty much work as a team. So a woman did make Bear Kittens.
Okay.
But yeah.
By the way, are you good at collaborating with people?
With my people, yeah, absolutely. I could not do it without the people I regularly work with.
Do you co-write with people?
Yeah, I mean, having actors improvise their roles and then writing something based on that is a kind of collaboration. We did we did a web series called The Acting Students, where all dialogue would be improvised, and it would work like we would rehearse a scene, they would improvise, and I would say this and that of the things you said I think is good, so repeat that. So that's a sort of collaboration, and I collaborate with Nissan. She wrote the outline to Perfomaniacs, for example. But yeah, co-writing is touchy for me.
Right, because filmmaking by its nature is collaborative, but the one thing that can be singular is writing the screenplay.
Yeah.
You can be home writing all by yourself, And I think that's a tough compromise because I personally would not co-write with people.
Mm.
So I admire people who can do it. That's, for some people that's great bouncing ideas.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times, writing is such a lonely thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I think some writers just want company or they just can't get the words out. So they think if there's someone to bounce ideas with, it'll be motivating. But I think at a certain point, you just have to embrace the fact writing is lonely. A lot of art is lonely. And you just have to be able to live with yourself, spend long periods of time by yourself cranking out your script. There's really no shortcut.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah,
feel that
absolutely.
way?
Absolutely, yeah. Like, I mean, being by yourself a lot is sort of the topic of the time, isn't it? I don't know how it is in the US right now, but we're on continuous lockdown, and it doesn't look like that's gonna change anytime soon. So I think a lot of us are indoors by ourselves all the time, and
But you're prolific in the amount of time you've made the films you've made. There are other people who haven't even finished one screenplay
mhm.
because they all are looking for perfection. Oh, I wrote it 5 years ago. Oh, I'm doing a new draft. Oh, I'm gonna get it right finally. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So, like, how do you know when your script is done? Do you agonize or do you just say, I gotta finish it? It's not perfect, but let's just film it.
Um, Time is always a big issue. So I think everything I ever did was done under a certain kind of pressure. But I mean, once I've just written the first draft of the script, there will be a couple of people who will read it and we'll discuss it, and then there will be changes made, and basically a script for us is done when I'm happy and Nissan is happy and our DOP Christian is happy, and then we go and shoot it, because mostly there wouldn't even be a lot of time to do any further development. We just did a bigger project. It's sort of like a mini series of 7 episodes called F60 Kamikaze, and in that case we worked with a lot of feedback by a lot of people, and it took about a year to get the scripts in their final shape, and I really liked that. I think the scripts are a lot better for that, but and this is a personal weakness of mine, I think I would lose interest after about that amount of time. By that time, I would have a new story in my head and would rather do that.
We're going to wrap up in a little bit because, believe it or not, I'm actually doing back-to-back interviews today. You're my first
Oh, wow.
double interview day, so that's in a half an hour.
Okay.
But there's especially two things I want to talk about before I let you go, because I'm sure the minute we're done with this interview, you're going to write, the child labor warehouse screenplay. And I hope somehow you incorporate Angela Merkel. Maybe it'll be about
Definitely.
a character like Angela Merkel, like, Mangala Urkel or something you could name her. Then no one would really connect her.
It's
And
brilliant.
maybe like she runs a country, but on the side, she has this secret ring where she rents out child labor to big American corporations.
That just sounds like Pizzagate, doesn't it? That's
It just writes itself, this script. But no, first, I want everyone to know you not only do one podcast, you do 3 podcasts. So
yep.
tell us about that.
So I think one of those is relevant for listeners to this, because one of those is an English language podcast.
And your English is very good, by the way.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to hear that. No,
and if you want to learn more English profanity,
yeah.
when we stop the recording, I can share some with you.
Oh, that's great. I really need to stack up on those. Lars Henriks Podcast International would be the English language channel, and that's just the podcast channel, and I just put everything there that we do that is in English, and mostly we're doing a series weekly called Mysterium Pictorum. Lars Henriks Podcast International on basically all the platforms, I think, where we Let me. I'm gonna be quick. I'm gonna tell the story. A couple years ago, I lived in Spain for a year, by the beach, basically, and I had a lot of time there by myself. I was writing the scripts for F-60 Kamikaze, and in this little town near Malaga where I lived, there would be, interestingly, right at the beach, like a tunnel that led to sort of like an underground city, which was abandoned. Apparently, there had been like alternative clubs and stuff like that. The whole area looked like an abandoned punk scene district. And I found a USB stick there, which cannot have been old because it was very big, lots of stuff on there. And on it were about 300 movies. I think 298, 97, something like that.
Wow.
Amazing.
It?
Yeah.
You just found it there. Wow.
Yeah, and mostly obscure stuff, lots of genre stuff, lots of art house stuff, a lot of things I had never heard of before. And I never really had time to go through those movies, but I always wanted to. And now we're doing this podcast where every week we watch one of the movies. We go by alphabetical order. It's me, Nisan, and a friend from Turkey, Yarın. And so far we have
I
watched
to the last one.
Oh, have you?
What was the name of the last movie you guys talked about?
We talked about. Oh, let me. I shouldn't have forgotten that. No, last week. Oh, we talked about The Man from London by Bill Atam.
I listened to part of that this morning.
Oh, cool.
Sounds like you guys have your own opinions and that you don't always agree upon whether you like the movies.
No, we don't. Like, we have made, I think, 6 episodes by now, and twice already we had major disagreements, but those are part of the fun, I think. I'm always the one who's more positive, I think. I don't know. I don't like the look of a filmmaker going on a podcast trashing other people's work. So I always try to find merit in everything we watch. While Yarın has no such obligations. And he just trashes things when he doesn't like them. So I think there's a variety there, and it's hopefully interesting.
She accused you of looking at your phone.
Nissan, she did. Well, I am always researching facts about the movies, and in that case, we were kind of rushed. So I'm defending myself again. I'm defending myself on the podcast too. I did look at my phone to research. Like, have you watched a Bill Atam movie?
Well, no. See, when I watch movies now, I always go to IMDb.
Yeah.
And I'm reading other people's reviews of that movie while I'm watching the movie. Right, I'm doing a similar thing. It's when I hate the movie. I want to find other people who hate it just as much as I do.
Yeah, like when I find a movie incomprehensible or something about it I find weird, I try to research the background and to understand why it is like it is. And also in a lot of art house movies, I have trouble following the story, like when they get more experimental. So I like to read up on what the story is supposed to be so I can more thoroughly enjoy it. Because I'm a bit stupid, apparently.
The English language podcast, the one you just talked about.
Yep.
What's the third podcast?
Okay, so that's the English language podcast. Yeah, I also have a German podcast, of course. It's called the Lars Henriks podcast, but that's sort of on ice right now. More interesting is our third podcast, Pitchcock. Pitchcock is a game we came up with. Actually over there, but whatever. It's a game we came up with. It's a pitching game. So we have these. We have cards. There will be 3 Stapels? 3 stacks of cards. There's genre, there's topic, and then there's format. The format can be, for example, a web series, a feature film, a silent movie, a theater play, musical, you name it. Also non-narrative things like theme park, stuff like that. Then topic can be anything, like, I don't know, books, cats, the outdoors, mothers, wide variety, like anything you could think of can be a topic. Coffee, beer, whatever. And then you have genre. Of course, we know what genres are. And we will draw a card from each stack, and then like 4 people play, and every round 2 people have to pitch against each other. So you get these randomly drawn cards, and everyone has 3 minutes, like every one of the 2 competing players has 3 minutes to present a pitch for a thing according to those cards. Like, for example, I draw cats, horror, and opera. Then I have to pitch a horror opera about cats. And whoever pitches the better horror opera about cats, the other 2 players always decide which pitch was better. And then you get a point or not. And we play that.
Who comes up with the best pitches?
Well, I do, of course. No, I never win.
Do they gang up on you? Even
they
though
do.
You have the better pitch.
Yes.
They don't vote on you.
Yes.
They're jealous.
Yes. And plus they hate me. And it's awful. But I think it's fun to listen to. But yeah,
so
it's in
it'd be kind of
German.
like you pick Angela Merkel, child labor, true crime miniseries.
Yeah. See. And there, your pitch from before would fit in perfectly. Like true crime also is one of the genres that we have, and that's really challenging because, like, if you have if I don't know, one of your if your topic is magic spells and you have true crime, and then you have to really come up with a true crime that actually happened. It's challenging. But,
now, do you live near the Black Forest of Germany?
No, that's also in the south of Germany. Up here we have the
Isn't
Heath.
there magic there, like little elves and witches and magical things in the Black Forest?
Absolutely. There's this collection of stories, the Grimm's fairy tales. Those are like travel logs of the Black Forest. Yeah, but we have lots of huge forests anyway. So there's forests and magic everywhere.
Okay, and we also should add, where can people find you online just to learn about you in general and your movies?
Okay, so I recently quit all social media, and I am the only place. Yeah, absolutely, cancer for your phone. No, the only place I can be found right now is my own website. It's Lars Henriks in one word. So LarsHenriks.de. There's a blog which I update daily.
You guys do .de for Germany. Although I don't buy that.
Deutschland.
It always throws us for a loop here.
The German word
seems
for
like it should be .ge.
No. Yeah, but the German word for Germany is Deutschland, which you spell DEUTSCH, whatever. So yeah, it's Deutschland.
Well, if you want us to use the metric system, then you should spell Germany the right way.
The proper name of the country. Yeah, I absolutely agree. But yeah, you guys should use the metric system. That's also a fact. Yeah. No. But
filmmaking. Isn't that ironic? In filmmaking, that's the only thing Americans do: 35 millimeter film. Millimeter. Is that good?
I don't know why that is.
So we got the websites. Your personal website has links to your documentary. So if they want to hear, or the podcast.
Yeah,
so
and all the films.
To your website, they can click and get your podcast.
Yeah, and plus there's you can also click and there's the films, and then there will be links to where to watch them.
And I also have to mention the YouTube channel Obsessive Filmmakers.
Yes, that exists.
So, which of your work can they see on that?
The first three, the no budget features are on there. I think there are movies on there that I do not mention anymore because they are so old and not representative. But they're on there for free because I
And
personally.
is it other people's work too? Is it just your work, or is there maybe things you acted in that other people directed?
It's mainly us. I think my acting show reel from 2017 is there, but I'm not sure. Which would mean that there would be excerpts from the Australian teen sitcom In Your Dreams in there.
So
But
it's
I'm
Australian. I thought it was an Austrian. So you actually
No. It
went
was
to
Australian.
Australia to act.
No, they shot it here in a castle in Hanover because they got money from the German Federal Funding Board, so they shot it here. It's sort of like a Disney Channel style series, and I was one of the German actors. Yeah,
I see. Because normally, like for those shows, like they cast like a 24-year-old to play a 16-year-old.
Yeah.
So because you were like an adult and you could work longer than a child,
yeah,
did they cast you in like something that was younger than your age?
yeah. Absolutely. I was 21 and I played a 16-year-old.
Okay, which they do. Which it seems like that could be lucrative, because have you always looked young for your age?
Yeah, I have, and I think I looked the part of the 16-year-old. I also did like a terrible thing with my hair. Like right now, my hair is terrible too because of lockdown and hairdressers aren't open. But yeah, I had like a Beatles style haircut, and that also made me look like a baby because babies, always have Beatles style haircuts.
Now, do the men in your family, at what age do they go bald?
Most of them don't. But sadly, my father, he has like we call that Geheimratsecken in German, like when that goes too far back. But
the receding hairline.
Yeah, the receding hairline, but only a little bit. Like he's in his 60s. I don't think he's gonna lose any more hair. So he has a slightly receding hairline, but all the other men don't.
Have you given up acting, or are you gonna still pursue acting?
Right now I have pretty much given up on it. I haven't been acting, like really acting. Like we made those short films, I acted in those, but I haven't been acting in a couple of years because I focus on being behind the camera and on writing, and I don't even have an acting agency anymore right now. Because there's not much inclination in the German film and TV industry to go and act in those things that I wouldn't watch.
If you went to Australia, would people recognize you on the street from being in that show?
I'm not sure. I know that in India they would, because I recently got a lot of messages from Indian teenagers. Like before I quit social media on Instagram, suddenly like the show has been shot years and years and years ago. I mean, it's almost 9 years by now. God, I'm old. Yeah, 9 years ago. But it must have aired recently in India. So I got all these messages by Indian fans, and also my girlfriend got messages, and friends of mine got messages for knowing me. So India is my place to be.
Do you have an Indian stalker?
I'm unstalkable, so no. I'm
All right, to wrap up, this is an important thing to talk about. We have 2 minutes to talk about it.
Okay.
But earlier we were talking about absurdism and absurd comedy. In this day and age with political correctness and people just not being able to take a joke or see the humor in things. You're using the fake little water gun as a pistol, and people can't get past that. Like, no, it's a joke. It's meant to be funny. Just What are your thoughts now? Or what would you tell people of, are we in danger of losing this ability to laugh at ourselves? Or are we so politically correct, we can't make fun of anything anymore?
I think Ricky Gervais said something about that I recently read somewhere. I'm going to misquote him now. I think he said you can joke about whatever you want to joke about, and people can tell you if they like it or not. And if you do not want to deal with backlash, then yeah, I guess don't say certain things. I don't know. I think like in my personal experience, I mean, we have a different cultural landscape than you have in the US. I think things are definitely way more hysteric in the US. When I was still active on Twitter, I always felt like there are so many things that feel so important on Twitter and to Twitter users that people who aren't on Twitter aren't even aware of. Like most people who will go online and follow these debates know that J.K. Rowling is pretty much canceled by now. My mom doesn't, and I think at least in Germany, many people don't know. Many people don't follow those conversations.
Is that one thing that prompted you to get off social media?
Actually not. I was I don't know. I usually don't get addicted to stuff, but social media had kind of hooked me for a while, and mainly it's I was on social media to use those sites as a tool to promote my work, and they hadn't worked for me ever in what 13 years, and I think most people, when we talk about marketing and how to market your indie feature, we always talk about, well, how do you have to change yourself and your work to work on Facebook? And I sort of went one day, like I thought, well, Facebook is one tool. There are other tools. Social media is one tool. There are so many other tools, but I'm ignoring them because I'm very much hooked on social media, which doesn't work for me. Like I had my I don't know 2,000 followers, which is nothing. So I decided to quit to clear up space in my head to pursue new avenues.
So when we get the Angela Merkel child labor expose movie off the ground, will the German government fund this?
No. No, 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 it won't. No, I don't think so. Like mainly we. There are lots of films made, I think, about recent political events, but only like if something actually happened and they want to stop talking about it. Like a couple years ago, we had the NSU. I don't know if you heard about it, but it was a right-wing terror organization who would target immigrants and kill them. And they were active for well over 10 years, and the German police would just ignore them or blame the murders on the immigrants themselves. They actually called them the kebab murders. And after that whole thing blew up, because those guys actually did blow up themselves, and they had like this video confessing to everything. That was like a scandal for a while, and then they made a film about that. Sort of doing a little mea culpa to sort of end the debate. So like it was like, all right, that was wrong, but it's over now. Wow. So like if she actually does have a child labor ring and that gets blown up, then absolutely they will fund the movie about that. If the movie clearly says that no one but her was at fault, no one at all.
What if we made her character the leader of Austria instead of Germany?
Yeah, that would work.
Would that be different enough?
Absolutely. Like any other country. Better yet, Turkey. Make it Turkey. Make her really evil and wear a headscarf and make everyone be really barbaric and caveman-like. Then they will so fund that.
Can we still call her Mangala Urkel?
Absolutely, we can do that, yeah.
So that legally will be fine. Okay, to wrap up, I'm going to repeat part of that quote, and I just want you to give your final thoughts on, is this still relevant to you? In Hamburg, we make films about death. Dressed as a clown from outer space. That made me think of Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Telling the saddest jokes about cosmic dread you've ever heard. Is that how you still feel about your filmmaking?
Yeah. About that era of my filmmaking and the Hamburg scene in general. I'm not sure if that is still going on because everything has sort of ended last year with lockdown. We don't have a festival, we don't have screenings. But I think that sums up what we're doing, because it sort of evokes genre elements, but also the irony and the humor, and then I think there's a lot of melancholy in everything I write, at least.
Well, if you ever do, no, I should say when you do the English language version of your movie pitch podcast, I do expect to be the first guest invited for that.
We'd love to have you on. Well, we're actually trying to, now you've said something. We're actually trying to get that off the ground. Like we want to do that in English. So I will contact you soon. Let's do that.
All right. His name is Lars. Is it Henriks or Henriks?
Henriks.
I thought so. His name is Lars Henriks. He is an obsessive filmmaker, actor, podcaster. His picture is on the walls of many prisons in India.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Where his fan club base is. He's provocative. He's absurd. And he still could pass for maybe a 22-year-old. So I appreciate having you on the show, Lars, and I wish you a happy upcoming 30th birthday.
Thank you so much for having me and all the rest. This was really fun. Thank you so much.